Today on Comm Talk, we're talking about Werewolf by Midnight.
Glix, what is going on?
We are receiving a signal from a new area on the planet Geekery.
All right, let's see what the planet has for us today.
Opening comms in 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome to Comm Talk, the podcast extension of Geek Devotions, the show from devoted geeks who are devoted to letting people know that they are loved. I am Celeste, and this is episode 146.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! So how many more episodes? 4 more episodes and we hit 150.
Yeah.
We should do something when we hit 200.
We should. You're absolutely right. We talked about doing something when we hit 142. That just didn't happen.
No.
I think that was it was actually one of our GeekCon recap episodes.
Yeah, I think it was.
That's cool.
So, also, side note, the bottom shelf has been a part of the world for a year.
Yeah, right? How crazy is it?
It is a year old.
How crazy is it? It's been a whole year since the team and I came together to form the bottom shelf. We have watched some interesting films.
Why did I picture y'all as magical girls?
I don't know, Celeste.
Like, come together to form the bottom shelf. And I just see y'all being like, whoa!
Think of more tokusatsu, Power Rangers type, more than magical girls.
I mean, same transformation sequences, though.
Less pretty.
Are you saying that Branson and Poofy are not pretty?
Yes.
Poofy is adorable.
Oh my gosh. So, well, like Celeste said, I can say words. It is episode 146. And we thought we'd talk about a couple things today. We're going to talk about Werewolf by Midnight, give our thoughts on it. And then we're going to have a commercial break. And then at the end of the commercial, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about this whole genre thing that Marvel's got going on, because they're branching out, and I'm kind of here for that. So let's get into the conversation. Werewolf by Midnight. Celeste, for those who don't know what's happening, what is Werewolf by Midnight?
Werewolf by Midnight is a 55-minute long special presentation by Marvel, and it is interesting. I honestly can't tell you the name of the main characters.
Jack,
that's right.
Jack.
I just remembered Ted.
Jack Russell.
Oh. That's bad. That's real bad.
There's going to be some spoilers in this for you guys, so if you don't want spoilers, turn this podcast off right now, because in 3, 2, 1, the reason why it's bad is because Jack Russell is the werewolf.
So Jack Russell Terrier. Oh, the dad joke, though. Didn't catch that last night when we were watching it.
I didn't either. I didn't catch it till today. I'm curious if, like, because this is based off of a comic book. This is an established character from back in the day, and I kind of skimmed through it a little bit earlier today. The actual comic itself, it's interesting, and but I can't help but wonder if that was part of the joke. They're like, hey, it'd be funny.
Name him Jack Russell.
Right, because he's a terror.
Jeez. Somebody had too much fun with that.
I feel like Branson was on this writing team. Came out, like, the original comic came out in 1972.
Steve was on the original writing team.
Steve was on part of the original writing team. So
Branson wasn't around yet. Steve was definitely there.
Right. So this whole story it's again, like Celeste said, this is kind of a one-off special, but it is in the MCU. This is them starting to kind of dip into their darker characters.
Yeah.
And this particular character, again, 1972, the comic book history of this is that his family has been cursed. Apparently generations back, his family somehow got involved with Dracula, and his great grandfather got bit by a werewolf, and thus the entire bloodline was cursed. And he has, over the years, attempted to control it, to keep from just going crazy with it through various measures. And he's worked with a lot of people. He's worked with Man-Thing, who we see in the show.
Ted.
He's worked with Blade.
Yes, I could see him working with Blade.
He's worked with several characters over the years in that kind of that field, that area.
I gotta wonder if this was
Morbius.
Morbius. Yeah, because Morbius is MCU, isn't he?
Well,
or not
no.
MCU. He's Marvel,
He's Marvel.
even though he's not MCU. I gotta wonder if the reasoning for this hour special was people prepping people for Blade, because
Yeah.
you and I both know Blade is very different than most of the MCU.
Right.
Like it's very
Yeah.
different.
It's darker. Again, this is the thing is people don't realize that Marvel has this whole darker side of things.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to get into a little bit of that in the back end. It's some of that, some of this. So I found out today his family is responsible for discovering the pages that made up the book that Wanda and Doctor Strange fought over in Multiverse of Madness.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So this guy's connected in like a lot of branches that are out there.
Yeah.
But this whole story, this particular one that we saw, there's the Bloodstone family who controls the Bloodstone, which is this power that's known for fighting monsters basically and the darker forces.
I was vaguely aware of it in the Marvel comics.
I'd heard of it a few times, never got into it.
Yeah.
But apparently the patriarch dies, and so they had to pass off the Bloodstone to somebody. His daughter, Elsa, has disqualified herself from automatically inheriting it because she's ran off. Fun story about her, I found out. She's immune to vampires.
Oh, good.
And
so she could be friends with Blade.
Her blood can turn vampires human. Yeah, that's fascinating.
That's interesting. Why has Blade not bitten her?
I don't know. So anyways, so so his daughter Elsa is disqualified, and so they've organized this big hunt, and there's a big monster that they're going to release onto the grounds. Whoever wins, whoever kills the monster and reclaims the Bloodstone, gets to be the head of the organization, I guess.
Yeah.
And so, but it's one of those like Hunger Games situations. Only one survivor. Well, not about Hunger Games. More like Battle Royale type of things.
Battle Royale is Hunger Games that doesn't have a PG-13 rating.
True. It's what Hunger Games plagiarized. So anyways, but it's kind of one of those situations. It's every man for themselves, man and woman for themselves, trying to win the prize. And you have Jack, and from the get-go, he's kind of this like, you could tell he's not the bloodthirsty hunter like everyone else is.
Yeah.
He's just doing his thing. So he gets out there, and come to find out he's friends with the monster, Ted. Who's Man-Thing. Man-Thing, I've got some back history on Man-Thing.
Oh, yeah.
He is a character that was created. He's kind of got this whole mystical thing. He's one of the few characters that can kind of just pop into the multiverse stuff. So like during the What If series, the Watcher was paying attention to his area apparently.
Oh.
And there was a couple scenes where he's like looking at the swamp area.
Interesting.
So, but he started off because he was a scientist. He was trying to recreate the super soldier serum.
Yes.
Injected himself.
And became Man-Thing.
By falling into the swamp.
I know that he is Marvel's answer to Swamp Thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they've done some differences with the two of them, but they are basically parallels of each other.
Right. I'm curious, though, now that you've said that, which one came first? And so I'm looking it up. But so it turns out he's friends with the monster, and he's trying to help him. And I guess Elsa's like just not having this mess. She doesn't want to be part of any of this stuff, but she wants what's hers.
Yeah.
And so they develop kind of a truce.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole ordeal.
She doesn't realize he's not a vampire,
a werewolf. Yeah. So that's kind of a quick rundown. I'm trying to be vague because I want you guys to be able to watch it.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on this?
I enjoyed it. Like, I was not necessarily expecting to be like, yes, I'm all about this, but it really fits the spooky vibes that I've been into recently. And it was well done. It felt like a classic horror movie.
Yeah, a classic monster film from like 1940s,
and
30s.
I love the creature features. Like, I love Frankenstein. I love Dracula. I love all of the things. Maybe not Frankenstein. I haven't seen it. What am I thinking of? The Mummy. I love The Mummy. So it's one of those things of I enjoy that style of movie, but at the same time, it was like taking the things that I love about the older movies, but putting it with a modern day story pacing.
Right.
Because a lot of those creature feature movies are very slow. And so this was not slow at all. Like I was preparing to like not have to focus too much to keep track, because you can watch the original Mummy, you can watch those older movies and not use your full attention to hang on to the plot. But it moved pretty quickly.
Oh yeah, very quickly.
It didn't feel rushed, but it moved. The storytelling was quick enough that it was intriguing.
I feel like it was a good hybrid of modern storytelling with classic monster filmography. This was done in black and white. The camera angles were classic styles of how they used to do those old horror movies. From like there's a scene where Elsa is in the cage and Jack is transforming, and you see this lighting like flashing behind him, and all you see is him transforming, but it's just his shadow and
her reaction
to it. And then you had this amazing I forgot what you call it. It was when you're tracking this amazing track-in shot where they're zooming in on her specifically. But what they did though was great. It was this classic style where you are tracking in but zooming out at the same time. And so what that does is it creates this crazy effect where the person is still, but it feels like the background is transforming. It was really, really well done.
I appreciated the transformation because because I watch for things like that, I was going, okay, these are like still shots of him in the background that they're doing. Like he's not legitimately transforming in front of her, but they're going shadow. And it was the pretty steady flashing, but it was really great because like we talked about when we talked about Godzilla, the 2014 one, I like when they take a minute to show the monster.
Yeah.
Like it makes it better to me.
Absolutely. And they did that greatly.
Yeah.
I felt like the pacing was fun. I thought the story was good.
I also liked the actress that plays Elsa, so I was a little biased towards her.
I get that. So, but overall, I felt like it was a fun viewing. Like there's some people like, and I get, there's a lot of people who they're very like, we're not celebrating Halloween at all. We don't do anything with monsters. Totally get that.
Yeah.
Understand, respect that 100%. But if you are someone who likes creature features, old school monster films, this may be one for you.
Yeah.
I think this may be one for you to get together, turn off the lights, maybe get some hot chocolate and some popcorn. Again, it's only 55 minutes. I mean, you're in and out, and it's pretty solid. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
So, any other thoughts about it real quick?
I think that if you have a child who is into spookier things like monsters, and you as a parent are okay with that, honestly, this would be a good thing to show them. Yeah. Because...
Now, we do need to put this disclaimer there, though. This is gorier than any other Marvel film that's out there. Yes. You did see blood thrown around. There was one scene where he's fighting these guards, and the camera's tracking in, and there's blood hitting the screen.
Yeah, I was actually about to talk about that.
I apologize.
So I was about to say it is bloody, and that is something to take into account. Though it's black and white, so for me personally, that makes it less impactful. Okay. Less it doesn't, because you know me, I am not a huge fan of blood in movies. Yeah.
This isn't like a slasher film. This isn't some Rob Zombie. Everything's being cut up Saw style.
But there is some blood. There is some violence. So, I mean, take that into account. But it is definitely much like the classic monster feature movies. It is very much something that, as long as you're okay with all of those things and your child is okay with all of those things,
Right.
that this is a good thing to show your kids, because
Right.
there's no cursing. There's no, like, everybody keeps their clothes on.
Right.
So really enjoyable.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. So we thought we'd do a quick exercise, and that is this: if we were to do a quick devotion on this, these aren't fleshed out; these are off the top of our head. We just came up with this idea right before sitting down, because we're in the middle of Addams Family Devotion Month, so all of our devotions are based off Addams Family. We may flesh these out for articles later down the road on the website, but what would be a devotional thought process for you?
So for me, it would be focusing on the relationship between Ted and Jack, because Ted went to this event not Ted. Jack went to this event because Ted was being held captive. He went to help him.
Right.
And so he was there, and everything happened because Ted had been captured. So then later you see Ted has come back to help Jack, and he's a little late for the main action, but they give a not an after credits scene, but like a closing. Was it after credits?
No.
No.
It's just closing scenes.
Okay, they did a closing scene, and it showed Jack and Ted in the woods. There was a little thrown together covering tent type thing over Jack, and Ted was there, and he had made coffee, and they were going to go get sushi, and kind of made me think about how, we really need community in our lives. We need people there that we trust to be there when, we've turned into a werewolf. When we
turned into a werewolf.
When we have bad days, trust them to see our crap.
Yeah.
So Ted was there for Jack, and Jack was there for Ted, and that's community. You can have that. We have a group of friends that we know would be there for us no matter what.
Right. Totally.
So they've walked through with us for some not fun things, and they've walked through with us for some fun things, but we have that community, and that's important. As believers, we're called to have that type of community with each other, because we're the body of Christ. Pending the rapture, we don't have Jesus that we can directly go to, like, in person, face to face. We can pray, but not like touch him and be like, this is going on, and him physically help you. So as Christians, it is our responsibility to provide that for each other.
Totally. I like it. It's a good one. So for me, my thought process, there was a conversation that they had where it reveals that Jack is a werewolf, and he's like, look, it's fine. We got 5 days to this. And he goes, I understand you're scared, but I work very hard to make sure I don't cross the line. He goes, once a month I lock myself away for 3 days, because his transformation lasts for 3 days apparently. And so that I don't harm anybody. So I don't do anything I shouldn't be doing. And for me, if I were to develop a devotion based off of this, it would be dealing with the whole flee from temptation, resist the devil, and flee from temptation. And it's a matter of, we need to be cognitive of what triggers us, what causes us to sin, what causes us to fall away from what God has for us, and stay away from it.
Yeah.
Not indulge in these things, and be aware of, hey, this is not good for me. I need to stay away from it. And there's no shame. There's some people that they need to stay away from certain things in culture. They need to stay away from certain locations, probably, maybe even some people. And we should not shame them if they are taking care of their own triggers. And because growing up, I've met many people who, they have some very strict rules, about certain things. And they got flack for it from people like, oh, you're just being ridiculous. Well, no. Those were strongholds in their lives, and they don't want to cross those borders. And so we need to be aware ourselves of our own stuff and take care of ourselves. At the same time, not be jerks towards people who are simply creating boundaries so they don't cross a line that they shouldn't be crossing into. And so that was that's what I would develop a devotion off of.
Yeah.
So if you guys have seen Werewolf by Night, what would you do? Like, for reals, like what would you guys
What would your
grade?
devotion be?
Yeah, reach out to us. Let us know. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then when we come back, we're going to be talking about this whole genre, exploration of genres within the MCU that's taking place right now. Which, of course, this is a genre piece. This is a classic horror creature feature. So we're going to talk about that on the back end of this break.
This podcast is a proud member of Culture Box. Whether you enjoy geeky reviews, comedy, or original fiction, you can open up the Culture Box and find something excellent for your soul. Point your web browser to culturebox.media.
In a world where live-action movies reign supreme, two awesome dudes are keeping things animated. If you want to hear a couple of animation nerds gush about the movies they love, then hop, run, or fly on over to The Cellcast. Available on most podcast platforms.
All right, and we're back from our break. We're stepping into another conversation here, and that is just genres. The genres are taking place. Do we like it? Do we not like it? What's happening? Because I feel like, Celeste, and correct me if I'm wrong, Phase 4 seems to be leaning heavier into creating more genre of playing with stuff. Because there's a stigma about all Marvel movies are just the same.
Yeah.
In fact, so much so they made fun of that and called it out in the season finale
Of She-Hulk.
of She-Hulk, which, spoiler for that if you guys haven't seen it. But this whole, like, they all end the same, they're all the same thing. And so there seems to be this shift that's taking place. And just kind of a real quick glance at some of the stuff that we have. Black Widow, I feel like, was a start of it, where they tried to do this spy thriller. It was still not quite.
If they had, I feel like that movie would have been better had they done it closer to the time frame it was set, because it just needed to be done, and there could have been some grace for the storytelling not being as well done, because at that point it was a side story, not we finally have a Black Widow movie.
Right. Exactly.
And everything's gone to crap.
Yeah. And then Shang-Chi was it was legitimately a martial arts film.
Oh, yeah. I loved Shang-Chi.
I'm not really sure how to classify what Eternals was. Kind of a sci-fi drama.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
The Spider-Man movie was a basic Marvel film, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But then you have Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange was light horror.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a horror person, so that's why I say light horror. But it definitely had the strange and unusual vibes.
Right. It was when it came out, a lot of people were joking. It's basically Army of Darkness 4. Sam Raimi made a horror film within the MCU. It tracked. It was actually pretty good up until you got the end. At the end, it was a basic Marvel film.
Yeah.
But they're starting to explore these genres. On the Disney Plus side, you had WandaVision, which played with many genres.
Yes. A lot of the WandaVision, though, was I would consider it more sci-fi. Because even though it's more into the fantasy than the science fantasy, it's more like urban fantasy. Because of everything that was going on.
Yeah. Falcon and Winter Soldier. That was more of your ground level social commentary drama type of thing. But again, into like every other Marvel thing. I'm not really sure how to classify Loki. What If was just several genre conversations.
Yeah.
Miss Marvel.
Loki would be fantasy.
Yeah, I can see that. Miss Marvel, I know people complain about Miss Marvel, but because it was just so different. But that was them trying to target young people, like teenagers. Like, that was a pretty decent Marvel teenager show.
It was like if Marvel did Freeform, which is the old ABC Family.
Yeah.
They took the family name off of it because some of their stuff is more teenage drama than what people consider family. But
Yeah.
Like I could see this being on Freeform.
Yeah, totally. Hawkeye, again, this was one of those ground level fight type of things. She-Hulk was supposed to be more of a comedy, in my opinion. I know some people had some issues with it, and I'm not saying She-Hulk was great. I thought it was enjoyable. I had fun watching it.
As a She-Hulk fan, I loved it.
Yeah.
It very much held to how the comics are written. Like, not everything was fantastic about it, but even with my love of the comics are not the best ones out there. I just love them. Like, but they're not terrible either.
Right.
It's a very different side of the world.
Yeah, I can see that. But like there were some pacing issues with the show itself.
Yeah, I could see that.
Now, what people were complaining about, the twerking and stuff like that, you've never read a She-Hulk comic, in my opinion. If that was your big complaint, you've never read She-Hulk. I get it. It's fine. You were expecting something like early MCU. But I think they're making a change here. I think they're trying to do varied genre conversations.
Yeah.
I really believe that the Secret Invasion that they have coming out,
I think that's going to be good.
I think so too. And I think it's another one of those spy thriller styles of storytellings.
Yeah.
And I'm here for it. I think Disney as a whole is trying to experiment with some stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I know that they're getting a lot of blowback because there is a stigma, there is a mindset to what Disney is. But now they're stepping into some other stuff using their different properties.
Yeah.
And people are like, no, that's not what Disney's supposed. Well, I get it, but that is what Disney's trying to do. They're trying to expand out to be different genres of storytelling. Well,
and the reality is that from a business mindset, it makes sense for them to diversify. It makes sense for them to try to reach different people. They took over the Star Wars franchise, and think about it what you might, it's become popular again. I would say that even helped the surge of geekiness being acceptable and being mainstream.
Sure.
Because Disney has a formula of how they do things as far as promoting and toys and whatnot. And while those movies are not the best in the entire series, they are enjoyable.
But they also were the ones produced the great shows that we've had.
Oh, yeah.
But again, even with that, like in this recent year, like the most recent Star Wars things, we had Star Wars Visions, which was them dipping their toes into some anime style. We have Andor, which is basically a political drama.
It's Jason Bourne in space.
It really is. And so Disney is pushing this idea of let's play with different genres of storytelling, which I'm here for. Now, are they executing it right all the time? I don't think so. I think they're having to work that out.
The problem is that we expect perfection.
That's true.
We expect them to not mess up our favorite thing. And you can't expect that, especially considering they are trying different things. Disney has never tried to do the things that they're doing. You know, they have their animated movies that everybody knows and loves.
Yeah.
They have the Disney Channel. They're just trying to broaden what they're doing. But as you do that, there's going to be some things. And in the age of the internet, you know, it's not like we're home watching the Disney Channel and we're like, oh, this show, and we click off and don't talk about it. We're just more aware that there's other people with the opinions like us.
Sure. Now, we're not Disney apologists. We're not hyper Disney fans or anything like that. I want to make sure that's understood. Like, I keep take it or leave it. Not really a big fan. I don't watch anything Disney really outside of some of the stuff connected to the MCU and some Star Wars stuff.
I do.
You do, but you're more a Disney fan than I am.
I'm also a musical fan.
Yeah.
And so, like, I enjoy the musicals. I enjoy the cartooned movies. So, but that's just because that's what I grew up on. So I'm going to...
You're going to enjoy that?
I'm going to enjoy that.
I understand.
But at the same time, I'm not a Disney can do no wrong person. Like,
they can do wrong.
They can do wrong. They can mess up. And they have in the past, and I've gone, okay, well, let's see what happens now.
Yeah.
Because I'm much more of a wait and see person.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I'm excited to see that we are starting to play with genres. Werewolf by Night, it's a genre piece. It's a horror film.
I would be intrigued to see them draw that side of things into the main world. I could see Elsa Bloodstone meeting up with Doctor Strange. I could see her needing to be a thing.
Yeah.
Or rather see her team up with Wanda.
Yeah. And that's the thing though, is if you're looking at Marvel like we did comic books, you have your books that were all just there. Every so often there was a crossover event and you're like, okay, what's this? What's that? And you needed to kind of be aware of that. The thing that they need to be aware of as they're creating these different genre pieces and the MCU is spreading so vibrantly is what they do needs to be like anybody can walk in and enjoy it with having to worry about everything.
Yeah.
If you're aware of everything, you're cool. You're like, okay, that's cool. I like this not, I like this not, but this needs to be a self-contained story. And that's the thing that Disney is going to have to be aware of as they create these different genre pieces.
Yeah. Because
well, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but there are people who will not go see Doctor Strange and will not see Werewolf by Night because they don't like horror.
Yeah.
There are people who will not go see certain things because they don't like those genres of storytelling.
Yep. There's people who I legitimately think did not like Miss Marvel because they don't like freeform. They don't like that style of storytelling because I saw a lot of comments talking about how it was immature.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they were gearing it towards. So
Right.
you have to, again, keep that in mind.
Exactly. So, well, guys, we want to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts about this genres? What genre of storytelling would you like to see done within the MCU? What show would you like to see and what genre, what movies? Reach out to us and let us know. So, Celeste, you got any last thoughts on this whole conversation?
No, I think I'm good.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us. You can reach out to us on all our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Just look for Geek Devotions. With the whole conversation about the monster stuff, I do want to say this. I want you guys to check out Gospel by Gaslight because this Werewolf by Night, man, I think Branson needs to watch this.
I agree.
This is right up his alley with this whole things that he's creating over there. But Gospel Gaslight's a great story podcast, audio drama podcast you guys need to check out. So, Celeste, you got any final thoughts or any thing you want to promote?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. Well, guys, thank you so much for being part of everything we got going on here. Check our website, geekdevotions.com, for all your information about stuff, all of our different podcasts and everything else. Celeste, why don't you land this plane for us, babe?
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to Comm Talk today. If you have loved this episode, head on over to Apple Podcasts to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It is very much appreciated. So until next time, stay devoted.
Peace and love.